32. One 932. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now I like to recite 1, 2, 4 because once upon a time I was a new devotee and we always chanted that verse. Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayam udirayat. And the translation, I'll find the verse, text 4.
It's up on the board.
It's on the board, but I'm not, can't see it. There we go. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. The verse just happens to be customized for ISKCON Silicon Valley. The verse is selected because it's the verse that I was, before here I was in Portland and the morning class was the prior verses. So here's our ISV verse. Shri Bishma Uvacha Iti Matiro Kalpita Vitrishna Bhagavati Sattvata Pungave Vibhumni Swasukam Upakate Kvachit Vihartum Prakritim Upeyushi Yadbhava Pravaha Iti Matir Ukalpita Vitrishna Bhagavati Sattvata Pungave Vibhumni Swasukam Upagate Kvachit Vihartum Prakritim Upeyushi Yadbhava Pravaha. Others can chant.
Shri Bishma Uvacha Iti Matirupakalpita Vitrishna Bhagavati Sattvata Pungave Vibhumni Swasukam Upagate Kvachit Vihartum Prakritim Upayushu Yadbhava Pravaha.
Shri Bhishma Uvacha
Shri Bhishma Uvacha
Iti Matirupakalpita Vitrishna
Iti Matirukalpita Vitrishna
Bhagavati Sattvata Pungave Vibhumni
Bhagavati Sattvata Vibhumni
Swasukham Upagate Kvachit Vihartum
Kvachit Upagate Kvachit Vibhartum
Prakritim Upayeshu Yadbhava Pravaha
Prakritim Upayushi Tadbhava Shri Bhishma Uvacha. Shri Bhishma Dev said, Iti, thus, Matihi, thinking, feeling, and willing, Upakalpita, invested, Vitrishna, free from all sense desires, Bhagavati, unto the personality of Godhead, Satvata Pungave, unto the leader of the devotees, Vibhomni, unto the great, Sva Sukham, self-satisfaction, Upagate, unto he who has attained it, Kvachit, sometimes, Vihartum, out of transcendental pleasure, Prakritim, in the material world, Upayushi, do accept it, Yad Bhava, from whom the creation, Pravaha, is made and annihilated. Bishma Dev said, let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all-powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending on the material world, although from him only the material world is created. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Because Bhishma Dev was a statesman, the head of the Kuru dynasty, a great general and a leader of the Kshatriyas, his mind was strewn over so many subjects. And his thinking, feeling, and willing were engaged in different matters. Now, in order to achieve pure devotional service, he wanted to invest all powers of thinking, feeling, and willing entirely in the Supreme Being, Lord Krishna. He is described herein as the leader of the devotees and all-powerful, although Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. He himself descends on earth to bestow upon his pure devotees the boon of devotional service. He descends sometimes as Lord Krishna as he is, and sometimes as Lord Chaitanya. Both are leaders of the pure devotees. Pure devotees of the Lord have no desire other than the service of the Lord, and therefore they are called Sattvata. The Lord is the chief among such Sattvatas. Bhishma Dev therefore had no other desires. Unless one is purified from all sorts of material desires, the Lord does not become one's leader. Desires cannot be wiped out, but they have only to be purified. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself that he gives his instruction from within the heart of a pure devotee who is constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. Such instruction is given not for any material purpose, but only for going back home, back to Godhead, Bhagavad Gita 10:10. For ordinary man who wants to lord it over material nature, the Lord not only sanctions and becomes a witness of activities, but he never gives the non-devotee instructions for going back to Godhead. That is the difference in dealings by the Lord with different living beings. Both the devotee and the non-devotee, he is the leader of all living beings. As the king of the state, rules both the prisoners and the free citizens. But his dealings, Krishna's dealings, are different in terms of devotee and non-devotee. Non-devotees never care to take any instruction from the Lord, and therefore the Lord is silent in their case, although he witnesses all their activities and awards them the necessary results, good or bad. The devotees are above this material goodness and badness. They are progressive on the path of transcendence, and therefore they have no desire for anything material. The devotee also knows Sri Krishna as the original Narayana, because Lord Sri Krishna, by his plenary portion, appears as the Karanadakshayi Vishnu, the original source of all material creation. The Lord also desires the association of his pure devotees, and for them only the Lord descends on the earth and enlivens them. The Lord appears out of his own will. It is not forced by the conditions of material nature. He is therefore described here as Vibhu, or the Almighty, for he is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. Many nice things to say about Bishma Dev. And this is the beginning of a prayer, his prayer to Krishna. I'm thinking, I just was, during the Memorial Day weekend, when some devotees probably went to Sadhu Sangha retreat, I was in Gitanagari doing Gitanagari retreat, which we've been doing for 35 plus years, on different theme. And this year the theme was Srimad Bhagavatam, the shelter for this age of Kali. And one of the speakers that participated was Radhika Raman, who was a lover of Srimad Bhagavatam, so he was a perfect choice and to speak on the Bhagavatam. And he chose as his topic lessons to learn from the prayers of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is a beginning of a set of prayers, and he expressed something that most of us, if not all of us, have experienced. We like the storyline, and when it comes to prayers, we kind of like tune out or skip over the prayers and go to the storyline because it's exciting. But because he liked Srimad Bhagavatam so much, he kept finding there's long prayers, so many. I once decided to give a seminar on prayers of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I was overwhelmed. How many verses of the 18,000 verses are prayers? It's like drinking water from a hose. It's too much. So how to describe the prayers of the Srimad Bhagavatam? You could take a prayer, a set of prayers, but in his very special style of speaking, he explained how he, made a second pass on all those prayers, and he was advising us how we can pray, but by learning from the prayers of the great personalities that offer these wonderful prayers. So here we have Bishma Dev. They're just circling back to prayers by these great personalities reveal many things, but one of the many things is their heart and their heart's relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Bishma Dev's prayers are very important because he's Bishma Dev. He's one of our 12 Mahajans. And he's revealing through his prayers his relationship, what's in his heart. This is his parting moments. He's soon, by his own choice, he's going to depart his body. Now, who's going to speak these words when ready to depart our body? And what to speak of the circumstance, as you know. His body is completely riddled with arrows. He's lying on a bed of arrows. Painful. Get a little prick. It's painful. What to speak of arrow, what to speak of his circumstance. He is such a yogi that he was able to transcend the pain. And fix his mind on service. Bhakti has a special power, the power to take us beyond circumstance. Even such an extreme circumstance. I mean, our circumstances are never going to be extreme like that. His service was, of all things, pacifying the heart of Yudhisthira. You know, Yudhisthira came to pay his respects to the one of the persons that was the cause of his not wanting to engage in the battle. The battle's over, and here's grandfather Bishma that cared for them like a grandfather, like a pure devotee grandfather. And there he is lying on a bed of arrows. One can imagine pools of blood here and there. And how is Yudhisthira feeling? He, Bhishma Dev, rose above his circumstance and pain and was speaking to pacify the heart. This is before his prayers, just before his prayers, this whole section. The position of Yudhisthira, like the position of grandfather Bhishma, and like the position of a pure devotee, is they have only one interest, and that's the interest of Krishna. Krishna indicated his interest, his plan, and Yudhisthira followed. Arjuna also followed, and everyone on the Pandava's side, they followed. Now, it wasn't a yummy plan. Kill. But the part of Krishna's plan was the purpose for his appearance, or one of the main purposes of his appearance, the appeal by the demigods headed by Lord Brahma to relieve the earth of the burden of demoniac kings, and so that's what he was doing. And is using the instrument. I mean, he doesn't need instruments, but he engaged the Pandavas and the army of the Pandavas as his instrument. And that person is now revealing his heart, because it's now that his duties are over. He waited, the previous verses, he waited for an auspicious time, the movements of the sun heading in the northerly direction. Like Monday coming up is an auspicious day, right? Amongst many auspicious days. It's an especially auspicious day. It's an Ekadasi, which are especially auspicious days. And it's Pandava Nirjala Ekadasi. So what's you consider, I don't need an answer, what's your plan for recognizing that auspicious day and receiving auspiciousness of the auspicious day? In grandfather Bhishma's case, he then, with his own mind, with volition, decided to give up his body as the sun started moving in the northerly direction. He doesn't need to do that. No harm, no need. But setting an example and accepting auspiciousness, his resolve was made. knowing that that was Bhishma Dev's plan. Krishna had come. I mean, it was perfectly orchestrated. Yudhisthira, prior, going back in time, the Rajasuya Yagya was performed. And the Rajasuya Yagya means it's a yagya to establish here's the emperor of the world. There's a nice description. Before the Rajasuya Yagya was to be performed, there was an obstacle, Jarasandha. I'm just speaking the storyline of the Bhagavatam. We'll get back to the prayers. So Krishna gave a service to Uddhava. 2 messengers had come. Kings, who are devotees of Krishna, imprisoned by Jarasandha, help! Yudhisthira, his dear devotee, please come and preside over the Rajasuya Yagya. So turn left or turn right. He turned to his GPS. Uddhava, what should I do? Uddhava said, turn right. Yudhisthira is your dear devotee, but for the Rajasuya Yagya to be formed, then all opposing kings, and there's a big opposing king, Jarasandha, all opposing kings have to be defeated. So first destroy Jarasandha, and then the Rajasuya Yagya. Turn right and then turn left. Now Krishna orchestrated the scene. He didn't need Uddhava's, but he's giving Uddhava some service, just like he gave Grandfather Bhishma some service. Just like Grandfather Bhishma did in pacifying the heart of Yudhisthira, because he's Grandfather Bhishma. And solace. Then his departure at an auspicious time. So, just before they came onto the battlefield, where Grandfather Bhishma was still lying, doesn't say how many days, but some number of days just lying on the battlefield. Because they had the second Rajasuya. And there comes Yudhisthira with his crown and royal attire to enliven Grandfather Bhishma, because they knew that's what Grandfather Bhishma wanted. And Grandfather Bhishma wanted what Krishna wanted. So it was done. They came to offer their respects to the departing Grandfather Bhishma. And Grandfather Bhishma was happy to see it's done. Demoniac kings, on whose side he was fighting for different reasons, and Yudhisthira is now officially the king. Haribol. Bhishma was happy, Yudhisthira was being pacified, and now it's time to depart. So the prayers, sections, next time you're reading the Bhagavatam and you run across prayer sections, don't just glance over it. There's elements, including elements of glorification and statements about the person's heart. They're revealing, this is prayer, revealing one's heart. So, and not always, but sometimes there's a request. Common, but not always. So the relationship of Bhishma Dev, one of the 12 Mahajans, is he's done so many things. And I was thinking, because this is the verse and sequence from other verses, it's a good ISV. Because how many here have many duties in your life today? Everyone has. Busy people have many duties. I can tell you, even persons in the sannyas order have many duties. And how are you supposed to stay fixed on what the real business of human life is while you're busy, busy, busy? Practical question, isn't it? I mean, the way the question is asked of me commonly is, how do I balance between material and spiritual? And I take that question and put it in the receptacle over here and say, it's not a question of balance, it's a question of time management and keeping your focus. And starting with sadhana. And the purpose of sadhana is to bring attention to the fulfillment of life's purpose. Sadhya has the purpose, and sadhana is the means to get there. And if you do your sadhana, this balance question turns into just time management question. So, Bishma Dev did many, many, many duties. Like many of you have many duties. We don't have the same duties that he has. That's okay. We have many duties. And it's the same principle of how to stay focused when you're doing so many things. Especially some of the things we do are not so pleasant. We don't only do the things that are pleasant. At least most people I know don't just do things that they're pleasant. Their duties have their discomfort. But we do our duties because they're to be done. That's mode of goodness. And then the higher than mode of goodness is for the pleasure of Krishna. And if that Krishna connection for the pleasure of Krishna purpose, the bhakti, anukulyena Krishna anushilanam, anushilanam, the behavior, both external and internal, that's physical and the mind, focused on that Krishna should be pleased, following the footsteps of perfected souls, anushilana. Krishna, anushilana. Accepting those things that are pleasing to Krishna, and means not doing other things. That's the path of striving for, the sadhana for striving for pure devotional service, or Krishna being pleased. In reading the purport, I noticed Krishna comes for the pleasure of his pure devotees. But other parts he's saying, which is true, he comes for other reasons than just his pure devotees. He comes because there are many people that are suffering unnecessarily. How many people are suffering unnecessarily? Everyone in the material world is suffering unnecessarily. So why are we suffering unnecessarily? Misuse of free will. Some people argue, why does Krishna give us a choice? He should just mandate no free will, just make the right choice. But then there's no love if you don't have any free will. So free will enables, or is the basis and support of love. You choose to be in a relationship with Krishna because you choose it, because that's a loving choice. But that means implicit is the choice to not. So strive, the sadhana is to continue to making choices that are pleasing to Krishna, not just because it's the mode of goodness, because it's dutiful, Be dutiful for Krishna. Don't be dutiful, yes, but don't be just dutiful. When people that are dutiful, they're good. Lots of people that aren't dutiful, or they accept a duty and they check out, or something. So be dutiful for Krishna. So Bhishma Dev, he's discussing the previous, I'll just read the previous verse also, 31. By pure meditation, looking at Lord Krishna, he at once was freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, external. So the internal was still going, thinking, feeling, willing. And he prayed transcendently to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body. So he's completely focused. And it's, not by accident, it's by years and 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 years. His grandfather, Bishma, very elderly, and years and years and years and years of not just being dutiful and caring for his grandchildren and upholding principles of Dharma and all the other things that Bhishma Dev did. And many nice things Bhishma Dev did. He upheld his word. He gave a promise to Satyavati, and for his life he kept the promise. At the risk of having to have a fight with Lord Parashuram, because he wouldn't deviate from his word. He was dutiful, but more than dutiful. He was fixed on achieving Krishna. So circumstances of life that we may encounter may be challenging. Sometimes they may be like unbearable. Sometimes they may be sometimes. So what to do? It's a little bit the discussion yesterday. What to do when somebody is really mean, and how you say samadarshana to somebody who's really mean. You can't do that if you're not fixed. Sometimes you snap back when somebody is harsh. It's easy. Get pushed, you push back. It's easy. Doesn't mean you don't use your arms, but you don't change the position of the pleasure of Krishna. So back to Bhishma's prayers. In prayer, this is now I'm remembering, because I listened to the recording of Radha Raman's class several times because it was so good. The second part was even better than the first part. The second part is how Krishna responds to our prayers. Whew. So, Bhishma is speaking to Krishna. Krishna is hearing his prayers. He's not only hearing his prayers, he's standing right before him, purposefully, so that Bhishma Dev, with his eyes wide open, upon leaving his body, can see the face of Krishna, smiling face of Krishna. And leave his body in that circumstance. So he's glorifying Krishna and his intimate relationship with Krishna, understanding Krishna's position. So one of the things he says specifically is, he who created this world, of his own volition, sometimes he comes into this world which he has created. I'll read. He enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending on the material world, although from him only the material world is created. And sometimes the example is given of a spider from his body. He makes a web and then he goes out and crawls around his web. But the web just came from his body. So Krishna creates the place, and it's not he enjoys like we enjoy fruitive activities. He's very playful, and he's incredibly creative and adventuresome, and he's cool and very entertaining, and he enjoys, and he's above criticism. Although people criticize, some people criticize this and that. Here's a little detail. I'm pausing to how much to share. For maybe 5 years now, I've been conducting a weekly class with the Chinese devotees on different topics. And they were jumping up and down. Let's hear Radha Krishna pastimes. So I started a whole section, Radha Krishna pastimes. And then they started complaining. Someone, not everyone. This is sinful. Swakiya. And Parakiya. So Kiya, okay. He's got 16,000 queens, okay. So it's sinful. So how can Krishna do sinful? So I gave several answers, and I'll just give one. I'll give two. One time Prabhupada was spoken to by a scholarly gentleman who said, using the word debauchee, why do you worship a debauchee? And Prabhupada's immediate reply was, all the gopis are expansions of Radharani, who is Krishna's own internal potency, and therefore Krishna is enjoying with his own internal potency. Dear sir, you're the debauchee. One of those living entities that are expansions of Krishna. You're enjoying what is Krishna's. You're the debauchee. And the man didn't know what to say. He didn't. He just became silent. And another nice reference, I hadn't noticed it before, but sharing something that I recently noticed. I like Sri Brahma Samhita. Maybe some of you also like Sri Brahma Samhita. And verse 56, the one that has the different meter, Shriya Kanta Kanta Parasho. So the Shriya Kanta, the explanation and extensive commentary from our acharyas, the verse says it and they expand on it. All the gopis are goddesses of fortune. I mean, it's right in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. All the queens, all the gopis, all of them are expansions of Radharani. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune in Vaikuntha, expansions of Srimati Radharani. So Krishna's activities with the gopis is same as what Prabhupada said. There's the Swakiya and there's the Parakiya, but what's the Parakiya? Because they're his own potencies. It's a pastime where he's enjoying pastimes with his own potencies. So the world looks at it with this lens, and Shastra looks at it with that lens. And so now back to Bhishma's prayers. He is in the position of assisting Krishna in his pastimes, and with full understanding of Krishna's supremacy, Krishna's divinity, including this statement here. From you enjoy from time to time coming in within this material world, and there's multi-purposes. It's one of Krishna's wonderful qualities. With one thing, he is accomplishing many things. The Sanskrit is clever. Many things by one thing. So he's killing the demons, and he's protecting the devotees, and he's giving his association to the pure devotees, and he's reciprocating with his eternal associates. He arranges for his eternal associates to enter this world to participate in pastimes with him. He invites the demigods to come and directly be associates of his and participate with him in his pastimes. And then Krishna arranges for them to return back to their demigod position in a very creative way. The Moshila Leela. Very creative way. And it's all his internal energy. It's just his plan and the enactment of his plan. Through even out of character behaviors for the fulfillment of Krishna's plan. For the fulfillment of Krishna's plan. That we can say, rightly so, that's one of the reasons why Bishma fought on the side of the Kauravas. There's other reasons, but ultimately, it's Krishna's plan. Ultimately, Krishna's plan. And Bhishma Dev only does what is Krishna. Pure devotee only acts according for the pleasure of Krishna. Even if it means fighting against those who he has great affection for, and fighting on the side of an adharmic Duryodhana. With this reason, that reason, but ultimately, it's the pleasure of Krishna. This is the pleasure of Krishna, one of the pleasure of Krishna moments. Krishna is going to send him back to the spiritual world and provide the opportunity for him to share his hearts from his position as grandfather and the leader of the warriors and the great souls and all these glorifications of Bhishma Dev's position, to depart the world in a very grand and glorious and instructive way. Not so likely we're going to get the notice that Bhishma Dev has when the time of death is going to come. It may be. It may not be. But what to speak of willfully giving up the body? Not many of us have that yogic power. But he's giving in his prayers, giving us heart's orientation, his personal orientation in service to Krishna. As Krishna has entered, he's here, Bhishma Dev is here to assist Krishna. That's it. And many, many, many duties on the strength and capacity given to him by Krishna to do those many, many, many duties. We're little people. And whatever little people abilities we have, they've come from Krishna. And so the meditation, because the abilities, whatever, have come from Krishna, how to best use them in Krishna's service. We're really fortunate, most fortunate, to have the association of our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, and his commentaries on transcendental literatures, volumes and volumes and volumes, even after his departure, to guide us in the world, the light of the Bhagavad, to give light in this dark age of Kali. And we also have a nice opportunity to turn up the light in this dark age of Kali. To describe the anomalies in this dark age of Kali, a high school kid can do that. Or an uneducated kid can do that. But what to do when there's this and that and the other? Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna's answer to that question. And he did so through Vyas and so forth and so on. And Prabhupada made it abundantly available in the publication system to make it in the devotees to engage in that empowered, super, 3 times super empowered acharya to provide the light in this dark age of Kali. And we just do our little part. We try to assist him, bring light into this dark age of Kali. Okay, I'm going to end. Looks like this is on Zoom, huh? Zoom. Any discussion? Okay, I see one hand. We have a little microphone too.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for such a nice class. So nice to reflect on Bishma's life, which was so amazing. And I was thinking about when he was fighting in the battlefield and the arrows felt like rose petals, because Arjuna was shooting and the other Kshatriyas were shooting so many arrows at him. But I was also thinking how when you commented about doing your duties and how every day people have to go to work and their families, and there are so many duties to do. We've been blessed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to chant the holy name, and that's been our special benediction to allow us to perform these duties, but at the same time meditate on Krishna in our heart. So the constant chanting is so important, even though chanting the 16 rounds is instructed. But when Prabhupada gave me my initiation in New York in 1971, he said, "So how many rounds?" And I said, 16, and his eyes got really big. And he said, "That's all?" So the constant chanting is what can get us through the day and get us, give us the abilities to go through this Kali Yuga and be strong and always meditate on Krishna.
Were we initiated at the same time? Same day? Because there were several days. But same day. Huh?
I was initiated the 21st. I got my first initiation in the morning, and then in the afternoon, Sarup and I went and got our second initiation in Prabhupada's
That afternoon.
Prabhupada's quarters. But we had waited, remember, we waited a long time. Srila Prabhupada wrote us a letter. Do you remember this letter? He said, I want you all to wait. I will initiate Bhadra and a couple devotees to cook for the deities, but the other devotees, because there was like 25 of us, new devotees, and he said, wait until I get there in July, but if I had wings like a dove, I would fly there immediately. Do you remember that letter?
I don't.
Anyway, that's the other thing, is that we can take Prabhupada's example as a householder and how he had his business of pharmaceutical business, and he worked hard every day to support his family of 5 children, so many servants and his wife, and yeah, we can take that's how the duties are. Thank you, Maharaj, for reminding us and helping us to meditate on Krishna in our heart.
The description of the arrows and feeling like rose petals, it was Bhishma's arrows against Krishna, not Krishna's arrows against Bhishma. Being hit by Bhishma's arrows, Krishna felt it like rose petals. That's okay. It's just sweet either way. Sweet or sweet. Take your pick. Someone in the back.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, welcome. As you mentioned about the Bishma Dev, there is, for devotees, there is no auspicious and inauspicious time. And you mentioned about that he has to wait for the right moment, because being as a pure devotee, there are two instances which is bewildering. One is during the time of Draupadi's disrobe, Bhishma was silent. There are many arguments, but still it is not satisfying. Even Draupadi challenged Bhishma. So, and then the second instance, during the time of quitting the body, he has to wait until the. So, how do you understand that pure devotee is transcendental, or they have to still wait for the auspicious time?
Well, you know the answer. They don't have to wait. Their volition in service to Krishna is the auspiciousness. It trumps all other auspiciousness. But he chose to wait for his departure for, at least for the sake of setting an example, because this is an example. It's what Scripture says, and he abides by Scripture because he's a dharmic person. So he didn't have to wait. And the other example isn't, I don't see the auspiciousness. He chose to not stop the disgrace of Draupadi, and you wanted, what does it have to do with auspiciousness? Could you explain your question a little bit better?
No, this is the second question, which is not necessarily related to auspicious, but in Draupadi's time, he was not even, he could have stopped it.
Yeah, he could. He's grandfather Bishma, just lay down the law and that's it. So,
he was silent.
One can look at external and one can look at internal. The internal is to give Draupadi, he acted the way he acted, to give Draupadi the opportunity to take exclusive shelter of Krishna, and Krishna did what Krishna did in reciprocation with her exclusive shelter of Krishna. So to facilitate Krishna's volition, Bhishma Dev remained silent. That's my understanding of the higher order of why he remained silent. Now there's external and other kinds of explanations.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for such a wonderful class. I was struck especially by knowing that Krishna felt the arrows as rose petals, that maybe even when we make mistakes in our sadhana, when we make mistakes in our bhakti, that there's still sweetness there. And for somebody who is the embodiment of love, the origin of love, the source of all of the wonderful things that we get to experience in bhakti, that one of the things someone had once told me in a description of Krishna is that he's all forgiving.
He's all forgiving.
And that, for some reason, maybe coming from something of a Christian background, it's hard to understand. But it's amazing to feel that, even for a moment. Because if we're firing arrows at Krishna, we're doing it out of duty, we're aware of what we're doing, the intention is that we are doing our duty of fighting him directly. He's still feeling it as rose petals. It's Pushpanjali. We're throwing flowers at him. He's taking it as such a blessing, and that forgiveness, it's really helpful to go through sadhana knowing, like, I'm going to mess up. It's inevitable, but he's loving anyway.
When Bhishma was firing arrows, the arrows were not being fired at Krishna, they're being fired at Arjuna. But Krishna was in front. And here comes an arrow, and here comes an arrow, and here comes an arrow. And that's one of the reasons why he fought on the other side for Krishna's pleasure. So the arrows of Grandfather Bhishma's my happiness. Now, how did Grandfather Bhishma feel when the arrows he was shooting at Arjuna entered the body of Krishna? Oh, no. But, that's just part of the reciprocation of the lovingness of Krishna. Krishna was deriving pleasure, even if it meant the discomfort of his dear devotee, Grandfather Bhishma. It's mysterious. Look at things superficially, and how to come to that stage where there's only one purpose, and that's pleasing Krishna. That's our life. That's at least the opportunity of our life. Now, back to your comment that Krishna's forgiving. There was no need to forgive Grandfather Bhishma because Grandfather Bhishma was only doing what Krishna wanted Grandfather Bhishma to do. Forgiveness is already included. No, so willfully, then there's down from the pure devotee position, willfully doing something that's not to be done. Apichet sudaracharo bhajate mamana sadhu reva samanta. So, Shipram bhavati dharma. Krishna corrects that situation. So from our side, for being qualified to receive Krishna's forgiveness, you just have to be a spirit soul. That's pretty much all of us. And then orient our free will choices towards pleasing Krishna. Makes that forgiveness or the reciprocation even more. We don't have to undergo hardship due to ignorance and ignorant choices, then suffering due to the consequence of ignorance. The course correction is built in depending upon our orientation towards Krishna, even with mistakes. Okay, someone else. You got the microphone already. That was quick.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for class. You spoke briefly on relationships and prayers. I was wondering, I know that there's several main relationships with Krishna, like neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. I was wondering how Bhishma's, or if you could describe what exactly Bhishma's relationship is and how it relates to those main ones.
I'm trying to think of a scriptural reference that gives the answer to that question, and I can't think of an explicit scriptural reference. What I can think of is his mood is a mood of service. To go up, is he friend? It's something like, because it's something like, the example of, the perfect example of servitorship is Hanuman. So, wanting to please Krishna in the mood of a servant, and not with the intimacy of friendship or parental affection. Now, in another sense, I'd like to look it up, a mix, because one of the topics in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is mixtures of rasas. So it seems that as grandfather, like the Pandavas were of the same age as Krishna, and he was the grandfather of the Pandavas, perhaps there's some element in Grandfather Bhishma's mood of love towards Krishna that, like a father, protecting. Krishna. Some parental affection, perhaps. But I can't think of a scriptural reference that says mixtures of rasas. Which ones? Someone's got their hand up. You have an answer to that question? Do you have the answer to that question? Yes? No?
Maybe. My understanding is that it's a relationship of chivalry.
But that's a secondary rasa. He wants the primary.
I don't think, I don't think there is in the first. And that's a secondary relationship, as far as I know. I might have to investigate further, but I never heard that it was a...
Well, he's asking primary.
I don't
Which of those primary? So that was a maybe. There was someone else. Who's the someone else? Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Few points that were resonating with me. Like you mentioned about we have so many duties to do in this world. Though they are not of your liking, still you have to do it as a matter of duty. That is like to be in the mode of goodness. And like you gave the example of Yudhishthir Maharaj and Bishma were doing so many roles. But the important thing is to stay focused on the goal, which is to do our sadhana and bring our attention. Maharaj, I had, you mentioned about time management. Like the question comes often is, how do you balance the duties? But it boils down to, you mentioned about time management. Maharaj, I have one very specific, like if you could elaborate on, like the time is limited, so you have to do your sadhana and also execute your occupational duties. So how do you, if you can elaborate on time management? The second question to that is...
Whoa. Stop. I like the example of the glass jar, and by side the glass jar there's a big rock, and then there's smaller rocks, and then there's pebbles, and there's sand. 4. So what goes in first? If they all fit, don't put the sand in first. So now how you or somebody else makes sure that the big rock goes first is going to be different. Common, not always universal, but common is first thing in the morning, before other stuff. I was just having a discussion with one devotee. They like reading the Bhagavatam first before they start their japa, because it helps them with their japa. And make sure that they do the reading, because they're going to chant their japa. But the light gets... So, different, just in short, rather than the variegated ways that something might happen. Big rock first. And because it's the most important. Here's a nice statement from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Madhurya Kandambani, in the Bhajana Kriya section, and then it comes later in the Nishtha section, where he says, same thing twice, emphasis goes to chanting, but implicit is the other 8 processes, because chanting is the starting point of the other 8 processes. So while speaking and writing about chanting, Nama Kirtan specifically, it's implicit, although not explicitly stated, the other processes as well. So, the core practice, core activities of bhakti, starting with chanting, that's the big rock. So our life is to do that. And then following behind, my little expression is, the horse pulls the cart. However much stuff you have in that cart, it's pulled by the horse. So if you do the horse part properly, then the cart can move. progressively towards the goal. So it's time management. So what works for you to do the big rock first activity that you have to work on and take guidance from senior devotees and sadhu sangha to do the bhajana kriya properly. But that's first, and then all the other activities follow that. Secondary. Here's another way of saying the same thing. There's a priority: health, sadhana, seva. Without elaborating. One more question. As I'm looking at the clock, it's 17 after 9. Oh, you have a second question. Go ahead.
Maharaj, I think before I asked, you almost answered this question, Maharaj.
Okay, thank
for
you.
the part, so I'll pass on the mic.
Thank
you, Maharaj.
Get mind reader or something. Anything else? Yeah. 9:30. Okay. And if there isn't anything, that's okay. I was told there's something with children. Are the children in the wings waiting for something?
One more question and then we can go to the children.
Okay, one more question. There's the...
Thank you, Maharaj, for visiting ISV. It's always a pleasure to see you. I've been seeing you for several years, since Pilani. I met you in Pilani in 1996. And
You were a student there?
yes, Maharaj.
Really? Blast from the past. There are lots of blasts from the past in this room, I tell you. Go ahead.
So, you are one of the Swamis, the monks in our movement who have high standards. When I look at your lifestyle, or watching all these years. So, it's a very good example. And my question is, how do we have such a big society now? The numbers are in thousands, maybe 1 million devotees all across the world. How do we make sure we inspire all of them to bring them up to these high standards?
How do you ensure...
Inspire them, inspire them.
Krishna's Shakti only makes that insurance. So how do you get Krishna Shakti? Make the heart a fit place, that means pure, for Krishna's empowerment. And then Krishna will do with each instrument what Krishna wants to do. And a very essential part of becoming a fit instrument for Krishna's empowerment, Krishna Shakti, is faith in the holy name. A little story, and then we're getting ready for the kids. One of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples was the exception to a rule. Bhaktisiddhanta didn't like that devotees just did chanting and didn't do service. But there was one devotee who became a Babaji, official Babaji. Bhaktisiddhanta wasn't like encouraging disciples, the opposite, from becoming Babajis, in artificial ways, primarily. But one devotee he just liked chanting. So as Bhaktisiddhanta was traveling and he came to the temple where that devotee was, the leader of that Gaudiya Math temple, complained, this fellow just chants. It's okay. He's genuine. So later that same, I'm purposely not mentioning his name, that same devotee, disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta, on one occasion was sitting with Srila Prabhupada and Ban Maharaj and appreciating both of them, and then he asked the following question. This is Krishna Shakti topic. Both of you, Ban Maharaj and Swamiji here, you're both highly learned, you're both very eloquent writers, you both were given an instruction by Bhaktisiddhanta to go to the English-speaking parts of the world and present the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and one was very successful and the other was not. Why not? And they were laughing and, cajoling, and he said, because he had full faith in the holy name. And you don't have that, you're scholarly and you wrote eloquently and elegantly, but not the same. He was successful because of his implicit faith in the holy name. And you read, I'm sure you've read many times, Prabhupada's prayers aboard the Jaladuta. Why have you brought me here? So what did he do? He had his Bhagavatam, so he spoke Srimad Bhagavatam, but, and distributed prasadam, but, it's the chanting of the holy name, and the chanting of the holy name, and the chanting of the holy name. So, it's not like that's all he did, but it's how he brought a transformation, dynamic transformation. His faith was transferred to his followers, faith in the holy name. Other things, and so, back to your question. That's the secret ingredient. Dial up faith in the holy name. However you may do that. It's, similar to the question of time management. The big rock. Okay, I'm going to end and invite whatever's next to be next.
Thank you, Maharaj. Give us actually 5 minutes because our scheduled time is 9:30. So I actually want to ask one more question, if that's okay. Is that okay with you, Maharaj?
Anything's okay.
Okay.
I'm here as a servant.
So
almost anything's okay.
So my question is, because I'm engaged in the service of educating the children here. One of the experiences I have is, as students grow older, they have their free will and they have so many things to also engage in terms of education and go into the work of, life of work and devotion. So, pursuing their careers and trying to explore what works so that they can balance their spiritual and material sides. So what is your, experience and realization? What is the best way to keep young devotees connected?
Similar question to his question. His question was the world, and then your question is the kids, but they're part of the world. They're our future. You can't predetermine how free will is going to be exercised because there's free will. And means it can be properly or otherwise used. So, set a good example. Now, that's not just be strict, set a good example, but touch the hearts. And, touching the heart is a gift that Krishna gives. Some people are better at it. Some people aren't as good at it. But touching hearts. And a big part of touching hearts is where your heart is. So being a teacher or in charge of the education of the children means somebody has recognized that you have that gift. You're not like just good at teaching, you're good at touching hearts. Or parents. I mean, I was thinking to comment, but now you're opening the door for me to comment. Lots of devotee children don't like chanting. They like kirtan. But the bead bag, yeah, you're controlling the mind. So the relationships with the parent and with somebody other than the parent, both kinds of relationship. Peers, because I have conversations with young people all the time, and they share stuff with me that's like, wow. And I try not to go, wow, when, sometimes their peers discourage them from taking spiritual practice seriously. Amongst the devotee kids, not, the public school, amongst the devotee kids. It's like rain on the parade. So, how does that happen, and how does one respond to that happening? Because this is a place that Vaisheshika Prabhu spends a good deal of time, I'll share something with all of you. This effort that he has created to take kids during their Christmas break, and they give it a name, I forget what they call the name.
Global Youth Retreat.
What?
The Global Youth Retreat.
They just say youth retreat. So for young people, they were not heading off the cliff, but their Krishna consciousness has become revived from their experience at the youth retreat. By the gift that he has, and the gift of other association of other young people that are there because they want to go forward. They don't want to go do something else. They want to go forward. But they're with a leader that touches their heart, and others that have that inclination. So you bring a bunch of little sparks, bring them together and fan the spark. And it's helped them. Although they're from devotee families, they're now in the position, their orientation is moving towards doing what the mission of human life is, rather than, a phrase that I've been using in those past 4 conversations is, supposing you're given $1 million. Being born in a devotee family is like, just here's a gift. And no rules about you can't use it for this or for that. Now, how are you going to use it? You have a rare gift. So, and they're sharing. Anyway, I'm just one of those persons that's fanning the sparks. So, how to help the young people is people that will encourage them to go in the right direction with their life, not just their career. It's not neglect the career aspect of life, but do that with Krishna at the center. And there are young people that are choosing that, but the percentage isn't really great, my experience. I can amplify that. So, back to your question. Parenting, teachers, adults that show care, good peer association, and they're going to select. They're going to make choices. You can't script it. How to encourage without pushing, but just encouraging. Not easy. Parenting isn't easy. Free will choices, they're abundant free will choices. You want to add something?
Be kind and patient.
Yeah. Kindness, there are different ideas of what kindness is. Kindness doesn't just mean patting someone. Kindness means different things at different times and different circumstances. But that when the person understands where the kindness is coming from, although it may be, not just a pat, it's coming from a place of kindness. That's touching the hearts. That's what I call touching the heart.
I'm reflecting on how Prabhupada taught us and how he acted towards us.
Well, you weren't on the receiving end, but I know people that were on the receiving end of very strong words. Of late, here's a for example. Of late, I'm listening to the recording of Srila Prabhupada chanting japa, and I only know where it was because Nayanabaram told me where it was. It was 61 2nd Avenue, and Nayanabaram 3 times told me I was the one that Prabhupada said, sit properly. And he described the situation, he chuckled, but he took it the right way. It was kindness. It wasn't pat. Sit properly. Right in the middle of this intense japa session. And Nayana said I was slouched over, leaning against the altar, which was kind of a raised altar, and, elbow up. And so Prabhupada could be strong, lovingly strong. And he didn't resent it. He was proud of it. Getting mercy like that is very special. Are we ready now?
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for that elaborate answer. Really a lot of points for me to meditate upon, especially that we can give what we have in our heart, so that kindness and that encouragement. I'll take away these points. And now we would like to move on to the next part of the presentations, which is the youth presentation.
Ready.
So I invite you, Maharaj, to...
Am I supposed to move to another seat? Because they're going to
yes,
come here, right?
Yes, please. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you again. So request everyone to stay settled. Our program is not over. So thank you again, Maharaj, for a wonderful class on the meditations on Bishma Dev from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So many wonderful points that were brought out on how these devotees who are at a very advanced stage, they do everything for the pleasure of Krishna. So we will now go on to a presentation which is actually based off of a story from the 10th canto, and this is from a book, Disapproved but Not Disowned, by Gaurang Darshan Prabhu. And it's a collection of various pastimes where devotees may make mistakes. And how does Krishna respond to that? How does he reciprocate to protect their devotion but encourage them? So he disapproves of their actions, but he doesn't disown them. So this is one of the stories about Lord Brahma. I'll hand over to Pooja Ragala who is a Kaishara student, 14-year-old. She's been with our Sunday school since a little child, I remember, from the Damodar class, which was almost 5 years old, I think, right? So it's been a nice journey with Pooja, and we'll hear from her on this topic.
One second. Is it turned on? It's on? Hare Krishna. Okay. Hare Krishna. My name is Pooja, and today I will be talking about the first chapter from a beautiful book called Disapproved but Not Disowning. So this chapter will go through a beautiful Leela that intertwines many important lessons that we should learn and implement in our lives. This chapter is called A Glowworm in Front of the Sun, and it teaches us that an attempt to display one's minute power in front of the Supreme Powerful only proves to be futile. This beautiful Leela starts off with the cowherd boys and Krishna heading into the forest after their mothers had packed them a very delicious foods. They went into the forest and they sat under the tree while they were grazing cows, and they were all sharing together happily. And in this scene, Krishna was sharing his food with all of the other Gopa boys, and the other Gopa boys were sharing their food with him. And the Gopa boys would even take the food that they were enjoying out of their mouths and give it to Krishna, and Krishna would eagerly eat it. And watching this scene, even the demigods who were looking from above were questioning this and were asking, is this God? But for Krishna, sweetness and simplicity are predominant, especially in Vrindavan, more than majesty and formality. While they were having a picnic, the cowherd boys slowly realized that all of their cows had wandered away. And because of this, all of the cowherd boys were very worried. And seeing their anxiety, Krishna immediately offered to help and told them to continue eating and that he would go look for the cows. Krishna owns the anxieties of his devotees. Devotees who are dependent on him are always protected. After Krishna left to look for the cows, all of the Gopa boys were sleeping under the tree waiting for Krishna. And while they were waiting for Krishna, Brahma was looking at them from above and took this as an opportunity, as he was also questioning Krishna's abilities. And since he was so proud with his title of creator of the universe, he decided that he would test Krishna's abilities and take Krishna's friends and the cows. Sometimes, even great devotees also get circumstantially bewildered in their understanding of God. Krishna came back to the tree and realized that all of his Gopa friends had been taken by Brahma. And he realized that all of the mothers in Vrindavan would be waiting for them, and they would be very worried to see that they didn't return. And because of this, Krishna used his mystic powers to clone himself and change into each of the Gopa boys. Then he safely returned to Vrindavan, and all of the mothers in Vrindavan were happy. Krishna made the best out of the situation, even though Brahma took all of his Gopa friends. He made sure that he took this as an opportunity to make all of the mothers in Vrindavan happy. Once Brahma returned to the tree, he saw all of the cowherd boys and Krishna playing there happily. For Brahma, this was just one moment, but in Earth years, this was one entire year. So after an entire year passed, Brahma saw that the cowherd boys and Krishna were enjoying like normal. And because of this, he was dumbfounded, as he just had taken the cowherd boys away. When Brahma was looking at them, Krishna and the cowherd boys transformed into Vishnu, so Krishna would be able to show Brahma that his true form. Brahma, seeing this, realized his mistake and asked for forgiveness from Krishna. And Krishna accepted this apology and forgave him and showed him the truth. All of the negative reactions of one's mistakes are burnt in the honest fire and in the fire of one's honest repentance to the Lord. In conclusion, although Brahma created the universe and holds a very high position, Krishna is always superior to all living beings. One who can see this will be appreciated and protected by the Lord. Although we also will reach great positions in our life, we have to remember that everything happens by Krishna's grace and mercy, and we should always stay devoted to the Lord. Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Pooja. Maharaj, would you like to say some words of encouragement or any questions? Or
You knew all the words in this. Did you practice it again and again and again so you've memorized something like that?
I did practice it, but I think I also remember the story because I remember like watching Little Krishna as like a child, so I remember the story.
And where did the pictures come from? From a
Little Krishna episode.
little video?
Yeah.
And just screenshot?
Yeah.
Extracted the pictures that way? Well done. What's your favorite part of the whole story? What's your favorite part of the whole story? There's different parts.
I think it was that Krishna like immediately like forgave Brahma even though he like stole all of his friends for an entire year, and Krishna forgave Brahma for that. So I think that was...
I'm going to share with you my favorite part.
Yeah.
It's not... As I spoke earlier, one of the qualities of Krishna is, with one thing, he achieves many things. So he knew that the mothers of his friends loved Krishna even more than their own sons. So Krishna wanted to reciprocate, and he became their son for a whole year.
Yeah.
And the cows wanted a calf as their son, so Krishna became the calf. And the cows for a whole year. And then when they're grazing on the side of Govardhan Hill, and the cowherd men saw the cows. You ever see a cow run? Cows are really unusual. They sometimes run. And they're running down the hill, and the cowherd men, come back, and they just wanted to be with Krishna in the form of a calf.
Yeah.
And Balaram didn't even know what was going on. He's omniscient Balaram. And he didn't even know for almost a whole year. And then Krishna pulled back the curtain. He said, oh, this is what's going on. He's reciprocating lovingly with everyone. And the forgiveness of Krishna to Brahma was just a piece of cake. Because Brahma was doing something that Krishna wanted. He wanted to curb the pride, and so he curbed the pride, and he did what he did. Just reciprocating lovingly with everyone, even when we make mistakes, which was your favorite part. Okay. Well done.
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Or yes.
Hare Krishna, I'm so glad you told this story. It's become one of my favorites. And the way you told it was so wonderful. You didn't stumble, you went right through. It was so beautifully prepared. And I really appreciated too, I don't know if they were quotes or if they were your own realizations from the reading, but the times when you had text on the screen, it was perfect. And the wording of it was so eloquent. And it really touched my heart, especially that last one. I wrote it down. Hopefully I got it right. But all of the negative reactions of one's mistakes are burned in the fire of one's honest repentance to the Lord. And in that beautiful thing where for Brahma, it was just a moment. It was just a moment's mistake. And Krishna made it, as he does in this lecture that Kankama had shared with me. Even with Srila Prabhupada and the pure devotees who love Krishna, whenever you interact with them, you don't lose anything, it gets upgraded. You trade up. And in that beautiful moment when, the mothers could have been really worried, Krishna could have played it in any way. He had the most creative, sweet, loving reciprocation with absolutely everyone he could in Vrindavan. Even Balaram, for a year straight, had no idea he was getting constant association with Krishna in many, many forms, which is just adorable. But it's just, the way that you presented this was so lovely, and it just brought so much sweetness to the pastime all over again, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to ask any questions or share any realizations or reflections?
I think many times when we use the phrase Krishna expanding himself into multiple forms, those who have not have the context of Krishna consciousness find it difficult to understand. So I was quite amused when you said Krishna cloned himself into so many forms. I think that was a very nice way that people who don't have so much idea of Krishna consciousness could relate to it, like what actually happened.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to put it.
Okay, thank you.
I noticed that too. She used the word clone. It's not in Prabhupada's vocabulary, but it's in the modern language. Clone is very common, and I guess it's a nice way to understand it. Oh, Jagarini Mataji, please go ahead.
Hi, Krishna. It's so nice to be back here, back home.
Yes.
Anyway, I was impressed. I think you did a lovely, lovely job. I was also, like Maharaj, impressed that you had it memorized, and you picked a really sweet pastime, one where Krishna showed his majesty and his love for all the residents of Vrindavan. And the way you presented in the words, I also agree with Kennedy here when you talked about the offenses being burned up in the fire of sincere apology. I think that was really, really, really sweet. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? Okay. So we would like to thank Pooja once again for this wonderful presentation. And look forward to be able to serve you all more, and to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Parampara for their pleasure. We are trying to do this small effort to encourage children, and thank you for supporting that and participating. It means a lot to us. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We would like to now move on to the next part of our program, which is Guru Puja. So we just stand up and put the mats to the back of the room and prepare the room for Guru Puja. Thank you very much.
So we'll. Right. Not now system. Okay.
Confused what's going on. Let us just do it. Or you just tell him that you chant
नाम सृष्टं मनुमपि शचिपुत्रमत्र स्वरूपं श्रीरूपं तस्य ग्रजमुरुपुरीं माथुरीं गोष्ठावतीं राधाकुण्डं गिरिवरमहोराधिकमाधवासं प्राप्त्य प्रतितकृपया श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि। हे गुरु ज्ञानदादीन बन्धो स्वानन्ददाता करुणाइकसिन्धो वृंदावनासिना हितावतार प्रसीद राधा प्रणय प्रचार। हे दीनबन्धु करुणाइक सिंधु कुरु प्रसादं मयि मंदमूढ़े लक्षापराधे बहुपापगाधे तत्पादपादेश्च मतिश्च कृष्णे नैवयपयन्त्यपचितिं कवयस्तवेषा ब्रह्मायुषपि कृतमृद्धमुदस्मरन्तः यन्तर्बहिस्तनुभृतमशुभं विदुन्वन् आचार्य चैत्यवपुष्पा स्वगतिं व्यनक्ति। जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। श्री गुरु चरण पद्म केवल भाकते सद्मा श्री गुरु चरण बंद मोए सावधान माते बंद मोए बंद मोए सावधान माते बंद मोए सावधान যাহার প্রসাদ ভাই এ ভবতরিয়া যায়। কৃষ্ণ প্রাপ্তি হয় যাহা होइते कृष्ण प्राप्ति कृष्ण प्राप्ति है जहाँ होइते कृष्ण गुरुमुख पद्म वाक्य चित्त करिया आर ना करे मने আশা আর না করি আর না করে মনে আশা সে গুরু চরণে রতে এই সে উত্তম গতে সে গুরু যে প্রসাদে পুরে সর্ব আশা যে প্রসাদে যে প্রসাদে পুরে সর্ব আশা যে চক্ষু দান দিল যেই জন্মে জন্মে প্রভু সেই চক্ষু দান দিল যেই জন্মে জন্মে প্রভু সেই দিব্য জ্ঞান হৃদয় প্রকাশিত দিব্য জ্ঞান হৃদয় প্রকাশিত দিব্য জ্ঞান প্রেম ভক্তি যাহা হইতে অবিদ্যা বিনাশ যাতে প্রেম ভক্তি যাহা হইতে প্রেম ভক্তি যাহা হইতে অবিদ্যা বিনাশ যাতে বেদে গায় যাহার চরিত বেদে গায় যাহার চরিত শ্রী গুরু করুণা সিন্ধু অধম জনার বন্ধু শ্রী গুরু করুণা সিন্ধু অধম জনার বন্ধু লোকনাথ লোকের জীবন লোকনাথ লোকের জীবন লোকনাথ হা প্রভু কর দয়া দেহ মরে পদ ছায়া হা প্রভু কর দয়া হা প্রভু কর দয়া দেহ মরে পদ ছায়া বেজাজ ঘোষক ত্রিভুবন বেজাজ ঘোষক ত্রিভুবন জয় প্রভুপাদা জয় প্রভুপাদা প্রভুপাদা জয় প্রভুপাদা জয় প্রভুপাদা Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. सरस्वत देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात देशकालिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चात देशकालिने जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद जय श्री कृष्ण कले कुकुर कादन यदि चाओ है कले कुकुर कादन यदि चाओ है कलि जुग पावना कलि भय नाशन कृष्ण नंदन गाओ है कलि युग पावन कलि भय नाशन गदाधर मादन निताय प्राण धन अद्वैतेर प्रपूजित गौरा गदाधर मादन निताय प्राण धन अद्वैतेर प्रपूजित गौरा निमाय विश्वम्भर श्रीनिवास ईश्वर भक्त समूह चित्त चोरा निमाय विश्वम्भर श्रीनिवास ईश्वर भक्त समूह चित्त चोरा नदिया सतधर मायापुर ईश्वर नाम प्रवर्तन सुर नदिया सतधर मायापुर ईश्वर नाम प्रवर्तन सुर गृहजन शिक्षक नसिकुल नायक माधव राधा भाव पूरा गृहजन शिक्षक नसिकुल नायक सार्वभौम शोधन गजपति तारण रामानंद पोषण वीर सार्वभौम शोधन गजपति तारण रामानंद पोषण वीर रूपानंद वर्धन सनातन पालन हरिदास मदन धीर रूपानंद वर्धन सनातन पालन हरिदास मदन धीर ब्रजरस भावन दुष्टमत साधन कपटे विघातन काम ब्रजरस भावन शुद्ध भक्त पालन शुष्क ज्ञान तारण छल भक्ति दूषण राम शुद्ध भक्त पालन शुष्क ज्ञान तारण छल भक्ति दूषण राम कले कुकुर कादन यदि चाओ है कले যদি চাও হে কলি যুগ পাবন কলি ভয় নাশন শ্রী সতী নন্দন গাও হে কলি যুগ পাবন কলি ভয় নাশন শ্রী সতী নন্দন গাও হে শ্রী সতী নন্দন গাও হে শ্রী সতী Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Nitai go Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai go Hari Bol, Nitai go Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai go Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai go Hari Bol, Nitai go. जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिवाचकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतकृष्ण के पश्चिमवर्ती सुलभ अभय चरण अरविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की इसकन बीबीटी संस्थापक आचार्य श्री प्रभुपाद की जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिवाचकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतकृष्ण के पश्चिमवर्ती सुलभ भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की ब्रह्म मध्य गौरीय संप्रदाय आचार्य परंपरा के अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद के नाम आचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की श्री गंगामाई जमुना माई की श्री भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी वृंदा देवी की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की हरिनाम संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की श्रील प्रभुपाद गुरु पूजा आरती की आरती अंशग्रहणकारी सकल गौर भक्त वृंद की निताय गौर सीतानाथ प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining us. Today's Sunday Srimad Bhagavatam class. Saturday, sorry. So we'd like to welcome His Holiness Romapad Swami Maharaj to ISV. So let's give him a big round of applause and thank him. We'd also like to thank him for a Srimad Bhagavatam class for Saturday. Haribol. I think we will have so we'll go and do Bhakti community announcements, Sankirtan announcement, and then Rashishwari Mataji also has some announcements to make. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. I want to remind you all that when you go for book distribution today, please do not forget to invite the people whom you're giving books to Bhakti community. We have a lot of programs pipelined throughout the week. If you're giving books today, you can invite them to join our session on Monday at 5:30 p.m. We have an online session. Last week we did a session on yoga of the tongue and it was really, really well received. After Monday, if these folks are not able to join on Monday, we have another program on Thursday. Last week we did Understanding the Real Problems of Life. That was our session, very well received. We had at least 20 participants who joined and very, very well received. So give options to the newcomers that there are programs where they can start meeting devotees. The thing is, like, if you give books, it becomes out of sight, out of mind, the books go somewhere. If we are not connected with them, it's such a big loss because you have worked so hard to take them to the point of getting a book and not able to handhold them after that. That's why we are here for. So please, please help your newcomers. Join bhakticommunity.com. If you don't know how to do that, please talk to me. Please talk to Krishna Sakha Prabhu, he's here. Talk to Vicky, she's here. Talk to Kennedy. Lijay, everybody is here who can help you, so please, please take help. And also we have on Sunday, we have Women's Circle. We are doing Bhagavad Gita in the Women's Circle. We are discussing the divine and the demoniac natures these times. So invite them. We are here to help. Thank you, everyone. Hari Bol. Yeah, you can give Bhakti Community bookmarks. Please. Yeah, there's Bhakti Community bookmarks over there. Talk to me if you have questions on how to invite people. Happy to help. Hare Krishna. Sankirtan.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. My obeisances. We have 5 scheduled spots: North Beach Festival, San Francisco, Chuta Balaram Prabhu, Satya Sankalpa Prabhu, which are not here right now. So you can get in contact with me if you're feeling inspired to go out. It's Pride Month. It's actually a beautiful time because maybe there's some confusion on the Jiva side, but when we talk about spirituality, all these upadhis, these mental designations actually start to go away. And we can actually relate on the platform of the spirit soul. And we only have these opportunities typically when we go out for book distribution. So if you like, you may join us there. We're going to San Carlos Pride Festival, and then there's also a flea market here, very close, 20 minutes drive, De Anza. And then Alameda and San Jose are both having Juneteenth events. Aside from that, I'll share one quote to end from Srila Prabhupada. There is no doubt about it. To distribute books is our most important activity. Fight with Maya means to drop thousands and millions of books into the lap of the conditioned souls. Just like during wartime, the bombs are raining from the sky like anything. Letter to Rameshwar Bhaktivedanta Manor 3, August 1973. Hare Krishna.
Today we have one please, Raseshwari Mataji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. So I want to add that we also are having Kids Sankirtan. This is a once-a-month event that we are trying to incorporate all the children to also participate. Kameshwari Mataji is leading this effort. So please, if you have children who you can bring to show them how to distribute books, please sign up. We have a wonderful program for them. It's a little bit in the later part of the day when it's a little cooler, relatively cooler, and so around 2 to 5, and then there is nice kids prasadam later on. So please encourage any children who can participate, especially in this break, to engage Sankirtan. Also, we have Gaurang Darshan Prabhu coming next weekend. He is the author of the books that these children are studying and presenting on Saturday morning. The presentations are coming from his books. So we will have special programs lined up with him. He will also be doing a program in the evening next Sunday between 6 and 8 p.m. if you'd like to attend and see. There will be more programs, but this is one of the programs that's in the temple. So wanted to share that. Thank you very much.
Today's feast is sponsored by Naresh Prabhu. Is he here? So Naresh Prabhu is sponsoring in the honor of his son who recently arrived, and his name is Abhay Garla. So let's thank Naresh Prabhu for sponsoring today's feast. Hare Krishna. So now I think we will go to Prasad Sevya prayers. Anushri, can you lead? Thank you.
Sharira Vidyajam Jodindriya Tahika Jive Feeling Vishaya Sagorin Karmadhi Jivayati Lobho Moy Sudurmati Taki Jita Katina Samsare Krishna Bhagavoyamo Gauri Bhare Jivaja Saprasadhanadi Lobha Seyanamrita Pao Radha Krishna Gunagao Vivirako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Vivirako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Mahapashave Govinde Namabrahme Vaishnavi Kalpapunyavadam Rajan Vishwasam Rajayate Prasadi Sarva Dutanam Manirasya Rajayate Asatya Suyasu Kutipaya Kayo Pabhukta Shaganda Vasana Karashashaka Vishista Bhujino Dasa Pavamaya Bhagavad Papi Madhura Deshaka Bhakti-Matrena Bhoktavyam Natrakala Vacham Nadeshaniyamastatra Nakalaniyamastata Praptamanyam Tam Krishna Bhaktavyam Haryabrahmi Bhagavad Mahaprasad Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi